white radicals.
Okay. What happened that night in October of 1967, the night you were shot, Officer Frye was killed, and you were arrested? Could you just talk us through
that? I had been to a party meeting, and after the meeting broke up, I went down on 7th Street, which was an all-night spot for food. And as I drove down, I noticed police following me, and finally the police stopped me on 7th and 7th and Willow, and the police came around to my car, and there was a backup, so there were 2 police cars, and so the police, I don't know whether he followed me because he had discovered who I was, but he asked my name. I gave him my name, and he told me to get out of the car. I asked the police, was there any reasonable cause to stop me? And he just said, he just repeated, get out of the car. As I got out of my car, I took my book with me. There was a passenger who also was a party member riding in the car also. And as I started to walk, the police then told me to walk back to his car. And as I walked back to the car, I turned around and started to read the reasonable cause to stop law from my law book, Alcorn and Fricke. And the police then told me that, he had every right to stop me and to go to the car. And I continued to read, and he pulled his revolver and shot me. I was wounded in the stomach, and there was a lot of gunfire. When I was shot, I became unconscious. There was many people on the street at the time. One police officer was killed. It was finally concluded that, by my attorneys anyway, that he was killed by a shot from his back by the second police officer. The second police officer also shot. He was shot about 5 times, and the first police officer about 3 times. At the time that I was not armed, the police officer, the pathologist discovered that the police was shot by his own weapon.
How did you get to the hospital?
According to the police report, I commandeered a car and kidnapped the driver in order for him to take me to the hospital. I don't remember doing this. There was one Odell Lee Ross. His name was Ross, I'm sorry, who drove me to the hospital. It was discovered in his latter testimony, he gave a number of conflicting testimonies, that I did get into his car and he drove me to the hospital, but before I arrived at the hospital, I became unconscious.
And then what happened?
My next recollection was my conscious was that the police were beating me on the gurney that the doctors were preparing me for surgery on. Matter of fact, I became one of my hands was the nerves were gone and in my left hand, and the police were spitting on me and so forth. There was a picture taken by some of the reporters who barged into the emergency room, and the police beat the reporters also. But one reporter got away with one picture that showed that I was shackled on the gurney, and while the police said they beat me because I was struggling with them.
Okay. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. How did your arrest affect the party? I mean, now they're leaders in prison. And how were you able to communicate while you were in jail?
Well, when I was arrested, I was taken to Kaiser Hospital. I was transferred from Kaiser Hospital to Highland Hospital, and as soon as this was October, it was near Christmas time, I became conscious with a local disc jockey dedicating a song to me, and Beverly Axelrod came to the attorney, was at that time was Eldridge Cleaver's girlfriend, came to the hospital and discussed with me a support group and a fundraising group in order to defend me. I communicated with the party through the attorneys. Before I was held for murder in the first degree, I was shipped not to the county jail, but to San Quentin prison, and I was put on death row there. And at the time, they said this was necessary because at the time the county hospital did not have a detention center. So they, as they put me on death row, a group of police were on either side, 3 in the front, 3 in the back, and I was on the gurney, and they were chanting "Dead man, dead man." Later, I found out that this was the usual procedure of any condemned man who was coming off of death row to see his attorney and so forth. Of course, I wasn't condemned yet.
So, but again, in terms of the leadership, how you talked about your tapes?
Oh yeah, I would communicate by making tapes, and the attorneys would send the tapes to the party, to the Black Panther Party, and the Black Panther Party would then send tapes back to me.
I'm interested in the language.
And we need to go to the source of the police, why the police started, how the police started, and the mental concept of America at that time. So let's hop up in a time machine, y'all. We're going to go back to the year 1704. We're in the state of South Carolina. There are a lot of slaves escaping. So the white people decided to start what is called the Slave Patrol. The Slave Patrol had 3 primary functions. Number 1, to go and catch runaway slaves. The second one was to instill punishment, torture, i.e. whatever, to just kind of maintain control. And then the third one was also a form of punishment for those who wanted to wild out, just to instill that fear. Slave Patrol people, who a lot of these people ended up being the Klan. You know, even when you watch a lot of the movies, you know, the sheriff would put the hood on quick. That's pretty much what the Slave Patrol was. Now, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, this is how the police started. Okay, so before 1704, it doesn't seem as though America or whites in the South felt as though they needed to be policed.
So it didn't matter if Sally Sue and whoever was getting raped or whatever it was, or, you know, they was robbing and stealing from each other. It only mattered when we got away.
And now that we know the history, for those of y'all watching tonight, man, spread the word on how the police really started, y'all. Do the research, yo. And then we'll kind of get a firm understanding of what it is that we're dealing with as a people and what it is that we're dealing with as a community. You know, KRS-One, you know, you were put here to protect us, but who protects us from you? You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna leave it at that.